Hello everybody, my name is Jennifer García Carrizo. I work at Complutense University of Madrid and I'm a PhD candidate. I'm just finishing my thesis. I have already upload my abstract at the folder, at the colloquium folder in Google Drive. And in the abstract I have submitted, I'm talking about cultural and creative districts and different nightmares that they have, as for example, globalization, gentrification, and citizens' disengagement. In this sense, I would like to analyze different problems that are related to cities, but also to specific areas as cultural and creative quarter. And I would like to do it through communication knowledge, because at the end is my background. I have studied communication, but also I would like to research about social media and how social media is important in creating spaces, especially virtual spaces in the cities. Also, I would like to research about differentiations in order to avoid globalization, and how citizens can be involved in our cities in order to improve their participation, and how are different initiatives as tactical urbanism, that I think Rachel has already talked about that, but different tactics and initiatives that can improve the citizen participation. I also to analyze some ideas related to how public and private investment and responsiveness, and but also commitment in different initiatives that are involving citizens. It's very important in order to deal with gentrification. And well, although my research is going to be focused on cultural and creative areas, as for example, Leicester Cultural Quarter, St George Quarter, perhaps you know by this name, or the Dundee Cultural and Creative Quarter in Scotland, or for example, the Usborough Valley in Newcastle. I would like to say that all these ideas would be applied to could be applied to the whole city. So in this sense, I would like to analyze how these specific areas in the cities are using activities or are doing different actions, but also how are they calling for participation of the whole society, and how they are trying to improve participation in order to avoid all these cultural and creative districts nightmares, as gentrification, homogenization, or citizens' disengagement. I would also be very interested in analyzing who is involved in these kind of activities that are taking place, but not only who is involved, also who should be involved, and if it's the same or not, because perhaps it's been involved, for example, city councils, but not other actors or cultural creative venues or different people that would be important to be involved in organizing this kind of events or activities or blah, blah, blah. So in this sense, in order to do my research, I would like to analyze some cases of study and how they are developing these different activities. I would like to do different interviews also, and well, know how they are trying to increase citizens' participation. Because sometimes I have the impression that all these areas are just focused in a specific public as cultural and creative industries, and they forget about general public, which at the end is quite important in order to support the development of the whole city. I would like also to research about the coronavirus effects in the cultural and creative districts, and by consequences in our city, and taking into consideration that I would like to contribute or to do my contribution in the future city area. I think it's quite important to know how the coronavirus has changed the situation, the different situations that have been developed in the city. In the sense, in the last 3 months, everything has changed, because traditionally and generally, when we tend to think about cities, we tend to think about physical spaces, but not about virtual ones. We tend to think about what's happening in these physical spaces. And now everything has changed. Everything has moved to the virtual world, and it's quite easy analyze how different brands or how different stores, supermarkets, whatever, have moved to the virtual world. end, they have just keeping selling their products to the virtual world. But what happened with services and what happened with activities and different activities which cannot be sold online. So in this sense, I think that cultural and creative districts are dealing with a really big deal. I would like to do some interviews with some representatives, and I would like to analyze what are they doing, how are they dealing with that, because it's quite difficult to think about a bar or a restaurant or a pub and how have they moved their activity to the virtual world. It's quite difficult to think about museums, about cultural venues, creative areas. How are they keeping engaging people, and how are they dealing with this crisis? So I would like to analyze these processes. I would like to know more about that now that we have been forced to move to this virtual world, because I mean everything has moved, no? Not university, the institutions, and it has been quite easy in the sense that we have been preparing ourselves from the since I don't know 2000. Everything nowadays is quite virtual and quite online, but the problem becomes when you try to convert physical spaces into virtual ones, and when you try to move, when you are trying to move physical activity or activities that take place in physical world to the virtual one. Can you deal with that, and what do you do? How can you keep involving people, helping people, and doing things in the virtual world without physical things? So I'm doing some observation processes through different cultural and creative areas, and I'm trying to see what are they doing and how are they dealing with the crisis. But I would like to keep working on that, doing some interviews and seeing what's happening. So thank you so much for your attention. It's nice to be here with you.